You wake up and your body already feels like it's behind. Bloated before you've eaten anything. Joints that take 20 minutes to stop aching. Energy that never fully arrives no matter how much you slept. Brain fog that makes the first half of the morning feel like moving through water. You've been told this is normal. You've been told this is age. You've been told to manage it with products that cost you money every single month and never actually fix anything. It's not age, it's inflammation. And two ingredients that have been used as medicine for thousands of years, long before pharmaceutical companies existed to tell you what to take. Address it from directions that no single drug on the market currently combines. Their names are cloves and cinnamon. And what happens when you drink them together in warm water every morning is something I spent 22 years watching get buried. For most of human history, the people who understood the body best were not pharmaceutical companies. They were communities, rural families in the mountains of Sri Lanka who had no chronic disease, Andean elders who lived into their 90s without joint replacement. Ayurvedic physicians in India who used these two spices together for what we now call metabolic syndrome, a condition that affects nearly 100 million Americans today and generates over $300 billion annually for the pharmaceutical industry. $300 billion. From a condition that communities without access to pharmaceutical products simply did not have in the rates we see now. That is not a coincidence. That is a business model. Cloves and cinnamon were used together as medicine for more than 3,000 years before the first pharmaceutical patent was filed. The documentation exists. Pre-1950 medical literature is full of it. And then, in the early 1950s, something happened to how nutrition and natural compounds were taught in American medical schools. The Rockefeller Foundation, which had been funding medical education in the United States since the 1930s, completed its influence over the standardized curriculum. What was removed from that curriculum was not random. What was removed was anything that could not be patented. Anything that a patient could grow, find, or buy for $1 could not generate the revenue that a prescription drug generates. So it was removed, not banned by law in most cases, simply no longer taught. Your doctor was trained in a system that was designed, deliberately and documentably, to exclude this. I am not asking you to take my word for it. I am asking you to look at who funded the education your doctor received and ask yourself what that institution had to gain from what was included, and what was left out. The first thing that happens when you begin drinking clove and cinnamon water daily is something most people notice within the first 3 to 5 days. Your gut begins to work the way it was designed to work. Cloves support the production of digestive enzymes, the compounds your stomach needs to break down food completely. Cinnamon addresses irritation along the gut lining, the chronic low-level inflammation that causes that persistent bloated feeling most people have accepted as normal. Together, they create an internal environment where digestion actually completes. Food moves through. Nutrients absorb. The brick sitting in your stomach sensation that follows meals starts to lift. What most people miss is what comes after that. When your gut functions correctly, nutrient absorption improves. When nutrient absorption improves, energy changes. When energy changes, mood changes. Your gut produces approximately 90% of your body's serotonin. The pharmaceutical industry has built a category of drugs worth over $15 billion annually around serotonin regulation, drugs that come with dependency, side effects, and withdrawal. The gut connection to mood has been documented since the 1800s and was actively de-emphasized in medical education after the 1950s. The timing is not accidental. One thing I want to be clear about before we continue. Drink this before food. Empty stomach morning before breakfast. Drinking it on a full stomach after a meal reduces the bioavailability of the active compounds significantly. This is where most people make the mistake that prevents them from feeling anything at all, and then conclude it doesn't work. The second change involves your mouth. Cloves contain eugenol. Eugenol is one of the most documented natural antiseptic compounds in existence. so well documented that it was used in clinical dentistry for decades before being gradually replaced by synthetic alternatives that could be patented and sold at a margin. Cinnamon contains cinnamaldehyde, a compound with documented antibacterial properties that specifically targets the gram-negative bacteria responsible for the majority of gum disease and chronic bad breath. Together, these two compounds create an oral environment that bacteria struggle to survive in. Communities across South Asia and the Middle East used this combination for oral health for centuries before modern dentistry existed. They did not have the research. They had the results. The third change is systemic, and it is the one I consider most significant from a research perspective. Cloves rank first among all spices in antioxidant density, not top 10. First, cinnamon is not far behind. When you combine them, you are delivering to your body a concentrated supply of compounds that neutralize free radicals, the unstable molecules that damage cell walls, accelerate biological aging, and systematically degrade immune function over time. Your body is under oxidative stress every single day from pollution, processed food, disrupted sleep, and chronic psychological stress. The pharmaceutical response to this is a fragmented one, separate products targeting separate symptoms, each requiring its own prescription, its own copay, its own monthly cost. The underlying cause is oxidative stress. These two spices address the underlying cause. The fourth change is the one that requires the most care, and I want to be direct with you about it. Cinnamon has been studied extensively for its effect on insulin sensitivity. Cloves contain compounds that may support glucose metabolism. Together, they can influence how your body regulates blood sugar in ways that are meaningful and real. If you have been living with that afternoon crash, the desperate hunger that arrives at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, the brain fog that makes the second half of your day feel like it's happening underwater, blood sugar instability is likely underneath that. This combination addresses it. But if you are currently taking medication for blood sugar, metformin, insulin, glipizide, any of them, you need to speak with your doctor before adding this. Not because of the spices, because the combination may work well enough to push your levels lower than your current dose accounts for. Dizziness, weakness, cold sweat. In serious cases, it becomes an emergency. I am not telling you to stop your medication. I am telling you that this works, and that working means it interacts. Respect that. The fifth change is one that most people never associate with what they eat or drink. Your liver processes every chemical that enters your body, every medication, every additive in processed food, every environmental toxin. It does this continuously and without complaint until the damage accumulates past the point of compensation. Eugenol from cloves and the protective phenolic compounds in cinnamon have been documented in pre-1960 research as supporting liver cell recovery and reducing oxidative stress, specifically in hepatic tissue. This is not alternative medicine. This is biochemistry that was documented, peer-reviewed, and then quietly stopped being cited after the research focus shifted to pharmaceutical interventions that could be monetized. The sixth change shows up somewhere unexpected. Your skin. Chronic dull skin, recurring breakouts, persistent redness. These are not primarily skin problems. They are inflammation problems expressed through the skin. Poor digestion, toxin accumulation, systemic oxidative stress, all of it surfaces. When the internal environment begins to shift, the skin follows. Not overnight, not dramatically, but consistently, and in a direction that no topical product can replicate because topical products address the surface while the cause remains underneath. The seventh change is the one that connects everything else. And it is the reason that the combination of these two spices specifically, not one, not the other, both together, was the subject of research that I watched get archived in 2004 and that I have never stopped thinking about. Chronic inflammation. Not the acute inflammation of an injury. The silent, systemic, invisible kind that has no specific location and no specific pain. Just a body that feels older than it should, joints that never fully recover, fatigue that sleep does not fix, weight that does not respond to effort. This kind of inflammation is now understood to be the underlying mechanism in cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cognitive decline, autoimmune conditions, and certain cancers. The pharmaceutical response to this is again fragmented. Separate medications for separate conditions, each addressing a downstream symptom while the source continues. Cloves are among the most potent anti-inflammatory compounds ever studied. Cinnamon targets overlapping inflammatory pathways through different mechanisms. Together, they address the source from multiple directions simultaneously. That is what the archived study documented. That is what I have never been able to let go of. I need to be honest with you about one more thing. This combination is a tool, a real one, with documented mechanisms and real effects. But it cannot outrun a body that is under constant assault from processed food, chronic sleep deprivation, and unmanaged stress. If you drink this every morning and spend the rest of the day in the conditions that created the inflammation in the first place, the results will be limited. The toolbox has to be bigger than one drink. This is one powerful tool in that toolbox. How to prepare it: 2 to 3 whole cloves, half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia. This distinction matters, and I want to be clear about it. Cassia cinnamon, which is what most grocery stores sell under the generic label, contains significantly higher levels of coumarin than Ceylon. Daily use of cassia over time can place stress on the liver, the opposite of what we are trying to accomplish. Ceylon cinnamon is lighter in color, slightly more delicate in flavor, and available in most health food stores and online. It is the one that the research was done on. It is the one worth using. Place the cloves and cinnamon in a glass of warm water the night before. Leave it on your nightstand. In the morning, strain it and drink it before anything else. If you forgot to soak them overnight, crush the cloves with a spoon and steep for 15 to 20 minutes. Not as potent, but functional. Better than skipping it entirely. 1 glass. Every day. If you experience stomach irritation, reduce the cloves to 1 or use less cinnamon. Your body will communicate with you. Pay attention to what it says. Now, what I've shown you today is one compound combination out of 40 that I documented after leaving the industry. 40 compounds that were removed from medical education between 1940 and 1962, each with documented mechanisms, each suppressed for the same reason. They could not be patented, and they worked well enough to reduce dependence on products that could. I compiled them into a guide called Margaret's Suppressed Remedy Bible. 40 compounds, organized by condition: joint pain, blood pressure, blood sugar, sleep, immunity, hormonal balance, cognitive function. Each entry includes the original research, the year it was suppressed, the institution or company that acted, and exactly how to use it today. The guide is less than 1 month of a single supplement, less than 1 copay. The link is in the description. 3 of those 40 compounds work in direct combination with cloves and cinnamon to address the inflammatory pathways we discussed today. If that is why you came to this video, the guide takes that considerably further. I want to mention something quickly before I go. This channel has already been reported twice this month. I don't know which video will be the one that finally gets removed. If you want to make sure you don't miss what comes next, subscribe and turn on notifications now. Not as a favor to me, as a practical decision for yourself. The guide link is in the description. I updated it this morning. If you go there and find it's been taken down, check back. I always repost it somewhere. 22 years of watching this information get buried is long enough. You deserve to have it.